Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our presentation today. Today we'll be covering social project management in SharePoint, adapting to the change. But before we get started, we have a few quick logistics to cover. We are expecting over 400 attendees today, so unfortunately we will not be opening the line for questions. However, we do have Morgan Meyer on the line, and she'll be facilitating the back end. So if you want to ask questions via the chat module, feel free to either raise your hand or go to the chat module and enter your question, and she will respond. You can also reply to the webinar emails that you've been receiving. Those will go to me directly, or you can send me an email as well. On the last slide of today's presentation, I will give you my contact information to do so. So that being said, all the lines will be muted throughout the presentation for all the attendees. If for some reason you do get called away during the presentation, we will be sending out a recording following the webinar today. Most likely you'll be receiving it by end of day so that you can watch it on demand. And finally, for those of you who need PDU information, we'll be giving you that PDU number at the conclusion of the presentation on the last slide as well. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. For today's agenda, we'll be covering the following topics. First and foremost, of course, what is social project management? And how is it changing the way we manage projects today? So as you know, project management's changed drastically from 10 years ago. And as these disciplines evolve, of course, we have to too. Secondly, understanding where project management is going is critical in addressing the routes that we need to take as project managers to align to these changes. So, for example, what new skills are needed to cope with this change. Things of this nature are key because we all know that it's a rapidly changing world. It doesn't necessarily wait for us to be ready before it continues to evolve, especially in the technology realm. If we're going to stay ahead, we have to have an innovative mindset. And, of course, we must be willing to adapt. And then lastly, the tools we use for project management are only as strong as its user base. And so what I mean by that is simply this. If you have a PMO, for example, utilizing 350 resources across the organization and only 10 of them are using the tool, how much will you really get out of it? So for the last part of today's webinar, we've got Matt Willey on the line as well, and he'll be walking you through a few SharePoint specific social project management tools that you can begin to leverage to get social. So with that, let's drill into the details. So what is social project management? Wikipedia defines social project management as a non-traditional way of organizing projects and performing project management. In its simplest form, it's the outcome of the social networking paradigm to the context of project ecosystems. And it's a continued response to the movement towards distributed virtual teams, which is where the industry is going. In today's project management, it's nearly impossible to meet objectives, milestones, etc., without participation from everyone. The bottom line is that distributed teams lose significant communication value when they're not given the appropriate tools to collaborate. It's also a new way of thinking that empowers team accountability versus what we're used to seeing, which is the ownership residing on the project manager alone. It also exposes expertise within your organization. In addition, it's traditional now to not only have internal teams collaborate, but also external teams. Maybe you have customers or vendors, external personnel that are also stakeholders on your project. Social project management is most often enabled by the use of collaborative software, and many times that software has been inspired in part through the new social media world that we live in today. It's not managing projects using social media. So this is a very common misconception. and we'll get into more details as we go through the presentation, but it's a new approach to managing projects. So don't think that it's the social media tools only. They're definitely involved, but only a small subset. As with any new approach or tool set, there will be adoption barriers that need to be overcome. So just because you build it does not mean they will come. Social project management has many of the same barriers that you'll find with any other enterprise project management solutions. So some of these may be familiar to some of you. The first adoption barrier is stakeholder management. So one solution rarely fits the needs of all users. An enterprise system, well, let's start with many years ago, didn't usually tailor to meet the needs of all teams, all users. Yet, that's what an enterprise system is, right? It's just that. It's a tool or process to be shared and used by the entire organization. The problem is that most teams in an organization work differently. They have different processes, they follow different leaders, and they have different areas of focus, which in the end results into different work. In social project management, it's about empowering teams. We mentioned this before. You can still have enterprise standards that must be met, but you also must allow for additional customization to meet the needs of individual teams or departments. Long ago, adoption was very low for EPM solutions, and this is partially the reason. You know, a group of stakeholders would get together, they would decide which requirements they wanted to see, and then they would enforce that on the users, not necessarily making the system usable and valuable for every individual users. The bottom line is if each user understands that the tool or process will meet their needs and resolve their pain points, then of course everybody wins, right? The executives are seeing what they want to see, and the team members and above are also getting a tool that makes them more productive. So make sure you can answer the question for every stakeholder involved if they were to ask you, what's in it for me? If you can't answer that question and you can't answer the question with value, then you know, something needs to be looked at to ensure that that system is also going to be beneficial to the users. And then of course usability equals success in an enterprise system. The data outputs that you get, of course, are as only good as the information going into the tool, so always keep that in mind as well. Second adoption barrier, work management. A social project management system, or project management system in general, I should say, rarely accommodates all other work that affects your project's resources. For example, where in my project management system can I find my service request ticket that is affecting my ability to complete my project tasks on time? Remember, we aren't reinventing the wheel of project management best practices. We're just taking a new social approach. There are several components of project management that are essential in any PM tool, and the most important one is resource management. So if you can't effectively manage your resources, how will you end up with a quality product within budget and delivered on time, right? The reality is you can't. In order to perform the resource management functions needed to obtain project success, you must capture all work, not just project tasks. So you must capture all work. In addition, teams must be able to collaborate on all that work without having to leave one system and go to another, right? Many of us today are still using multiple systems, and in today's IT environments, we're seeing more and more that one system can do multiple disciplines and work for multiple departments, multiple teams across different verticals. So let's say that Jim and Bill are working on my project, and I can't figure out why they're so far behind on their tasks. I go into my project management system, and I see that they're only 50% allocated to 3 projects combined. So as a project manager, that doesn't give me the insight needed to effectively manage my resources, right? It also doesn't help Jim and Bill with productivity, because most likely they have a different system for every type of work they're managing. Again, they're logging in and logging off to multiple systems every day. Social project management, again, empowers the users and promotes productivity. Your system and processes must accommodate all work that affects your resources. So you're going to hear me say that several times today. If you can remove the silos of information that's spread across the organization and then accommodate all of your users' work in one solution, not only will you increase productivity, but you could potentially reduce significant cost by eliminating unnecessary infrastructure, for example, reducing the need for dedicated system expertise, the people that are working on each one of those systems, and removing the ongoing expense of maintenance for redundant systems as well. So a benefit across the board. The third adoption barrier relates to the resistance of change. Enforcing new process and tools at a rapid pace will only cause resistance. And typically that comes from just the fear of unknown. Your resources are used to using the productivity tools that work for them. So creating a tool and then creating processes that align with it will almost always fail. You know, find a tool that will map to your current processes that you're using today, and then you can build a roadmap of progression that is easy to bite off moving forward. So too much complexity and too much change too soon will only introduce adoption risk, and we don't want that, because the more people that are using the tool, the more value you're going to get out of it. Let's look at social tools specifically. So how does your teams communicate and work today? If 60% of your organization relies on Outlook for task management and communication, you know, finding a tool that allows for that integration will be key for adoption. Same thing goes for those in your organization that are chronic social networkers, right? You need to give them comment streams to communicate while they're working on their projects, something that's familiar to them. Same thing with team members that might be using Excel to manage some of their work. And trust me, it exists everywhere still today. We still have a lot of project managers out there using Excel. Allow them to bring in their Excel file, for example, to their PPM collaboration environment, and you'll see better adoption across the board. There are many, many systems out there that, you know, allow various integrations, and we're going to talk about EPM Live a little bit later, which happens to accommodate all of these integrations that we're talking about today. The tagline here is work the way you want to work. So that's what we want the tool to do for your users, work the way that they work today. Again, social project management will ultimately expose expertise, you know, empower efficiencies, and of course promote productivity. So what do you use social project management software for? The word collaborate can seem somewhat ambiguous. In fact, if you were going to tell your organization that you had a new system for collaboration, would they actually know what you mean? Probably not. If you told them you had a new system that would allow everyone to manage their work in a centralized location and would help them collaborate with each other in a more effective social way to become more productive, that might resonate a little more with users. The key to success is understanding the needs of every user. Again, understanding the needs and bringing value to every stakeholder. If your organization is made up of sales, product development, marketing, and services, for example, make sure that each team has a community relevant to their area. They can use the processes or methodologies that make sense for their specific work focus, and they don't have to spend more time jumping from system to system than actually getting the work done. Some businesses might be afraid to use a social approach to project management because they think of Facebook and other social networking tools on the market today that allow users to discuss freely what's going on in their daily life at any given time, such as trying a new restaurant maybe, traveling details, or even the new award that their child won at school the other day. The reality, though, is that knowing information about others builds trust and relationships. Social project management is not managing projects with Facebook, and its purpose is not to share every detail about every user's day-to-day lives. However, it is about empowering users, generating status, establishing experts, and allowing others to learn as well. I don't know if you remember long ago in project management, it used to be that all project data was secure, right? You couldn't get into a system and see all of the data that applied to projects. Well, that's changing now because that open structure is building trust across the organization. It's making people feel accountable for the projects, etc. So, you know, relationship transparency can create a very positive working environment. And relationships are very important in getting work done and promoting a productive team environment as well. Naturally, if we haven't met someone, we may form our own opinion based on limited information we have. You know, through social software, teams can get to know each other a little better and in return make us realize the value of each work colleague and the benefit that they might have on us as individuals getting our own work done. So in addition to building communities, allowing individual profiles can help, you know, establish similarities between coworkers, and then in return, you know, foster positive working relationships amongst them as well. So don't underestimate the value of sharing information amongst colleagues. So let's recap everything we've talked about today to ensure you have the keys to success in adapting to the social project management approach. And then we'll get into the tool examples. First, there must be value for every user. So go back to the question I asked before, what's in it for me? Make sure that you can answer that question for every stakeholder. Understand how they are working now so you can interpret what would help them out moving forward through social technology. Change, you know, the you must mentality to the I want mentality. Second, understand your target audience and who will be using the tool. You need to adopt organizational behaviors, not the other way around. Gardner actually did a presentation in social project management at their PPM Summit last year. They said that 15 to 18% of your audience will be a collaborative audience. 13% or so will never be collaborative or social, and 70% are in the middle and can typically be influenced by peers and by management. So how can management influence? Well, you are your own best case study, right? You've heard that before. Use the tool. Don't enable your users to stay in the old mode. Share your experiences and be an advocate through examples. So this is very important. You must leverage the 15% to influence the 70% to become more social and collaborative so they too can be more productive. So again, win-win for everybody. Third, social project management tools with vague goals fail. Don't force users into functionality. It's about helping them understand how that functionality will benefit them and their everyday productivity. I don't know if you remember, but when Twitter was introduced, did you know how to use the tool or what you should be using the tool for? Probably not. But chances are, once you understand the purpose, it's more likely that you'll use a tool, maybe even become a power user. So purpose is key. Fourth on the list, make it better than the tools and processes used today. Some of you may be laughing on the other end of the line. We always hear rumblings about, you know, various tools that are being used in organizations, and of course, they're not always perfect for every user because they are enterprise tools. So think about all the systems that your users are using today. You know, how often do they need to go in and hunt down information? Bring that information to your users so they can solve problems, get work done, feel good about their accomplishments when they go home at night. It's been said that any new technology introduced must be 10 times better than what's used today in order to be adopted. So think about that when you're putting into place a new system. Make it easy for your users so they can spend less time managing the work and more time actually getting the work done. So leverage those social tools to share knowledge, best practices, and to collaborate. Next, establish key roles needed to ensure success. So like outside communities, for example, you must have a leader, right? The social project manager, someone who clearly understands the goals, knows the mechanics, and can help remove obstacles for the user. So make sure you establish that leader. The visitors of the community need to have a good experience and to be able to find the information they're looking for easily. The workers and users will keep the community alive with knowledge, expertise, and relevant content after they realize the value it has to them. So, you know, when users come in to your system, you want to make sure that everything's easily accessible because if they come in 2 times and can't find the information they're looking for, they'll no longer use the tool. So, you know, make sure that you have gone through all the use cases for each user and have proven that it is valuable for every user. Promote active participation. This is a new approach that requires a new way of thinking. So how many times do you have to do something before it becomes routine, right? Same concept here. Make it fun, encourage participation. Make sure everyone understands how the tool will make their everyday work lives better and even more efficient. And lastly, build trust. So when social projects fail, trust is often at the core of the problem. Social communication is not hierarchical, right? It's an open form of communication, and sometimes people say things that others may not like. The answer is not to shut down a tool that 99% of the organization likes because someone's misbehaving. So know what you'll do when inappropriate things happen, because they will, and how you will encourage the behavior you want. Putting everyone on the tool and making them reachable for collaboration, with the exception of the leadership team, again, that's not the answer. You know, go by example. Have everybody on the tool, everybody communicating with everyone. Build trust and form relationships. So before we jump into a demo of social project management tools specifically in SharePoint, let's take a look at some of the benefits that can be realized through SPM, social project management. There are many areas in which your organization, of course, can benefit from leveraging this approach. In an all-work environment, every user should be able to access the information they need when they need it without having to leave one system and go to another. So that centralized data, that core, can save your organization time and money. Again, if you're able to provide valuable information within the tool for every user that allows them to perform their work better and faster, it'll be a win-win across the board. In the essence of time, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Matt Willey, one of our solutions specialists here at EPM Live, and he is going to walk you through some social project management tools you can use when implementing SPM within your organization. So these tools include communities, my work, comment streams, notification alerts, ideation, shoutouts, user customizable dashboards, and Yammer integration. So with that, Matt, I'm going to hand it back over to you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Heather. Go ahead and share my screen here. All right, everybody. So the goal of today was just to walk you through some of the tools available within EPM Live. Keep in mind, EPM Live is built on SharePoint, so any social tools that are already inherent in SharePoint, you'll be able to take advantage of all of those as well. And we'll look at some of those today. But we'll also see some EPM Live specific tools to help you be more social with your project management system. So the first thing that we're going to look at is the concept of communities. The goal of communities is really to break the system up into smaller chunks so that when you go into the system, it feels a little bit more personalized to you, and it allows you to get in there and do what you need to do and interact and collaborate without a lot of noise. So it helps with adoption for sure. So right now I'm in the projects community, and the projects community is more for a project manager type of role. And there's things like projects and tasks and issues. And on my home page here, it's very focused on my active projects, and I have some KPI indicators, etc. If I switch here, I'm going to go ahead and switch to the My Workplace community. The My Workplace community is really more meant for team members to come in and do the things that they want and need to do. So things like My Work, their timesheets, they can submit time off, etc. So really the goal is just to help people get into the system and use it to make it more social by cutting it up into smaller chunks so it doesn't seem as intimidating when they come in. They only see the things that they really need to see. If you do multiple roles, you can definitely switch through communities and such, but it really just helps with adoption. So the next tool that we're going to look at is the My Work tool. I'm going to go ahead and click on My Work here from the My Workplace community. My Work allows you to really manage your own work. So you get assigned tasks from multiple projects and issues and risks and service requests and backlog items and any of the different apps that are installed within the system, different work apps. You can get assigned work from any of those, and depending on your role, you may get different things and such. But really, this is one place where you can see all of the work that's assigned to you and allow you to interact and communicate and really get that work done in a more social way. So the way it helps you to do that is, one, I can see everything here that I'm working on, so it makes it so that I can manage it. One of the things I can do in here, I can say, I'm going to work on this task today, I'm going to work on this task today, I'm going to work on this today, this issue, so on and so forth. I can then switch to my working on it view, just to filter out, and make it a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to look at, so I can start to manage my work and prioritize it and figure out what I'm going to do. And then from there, there's a tool called Comments that you can use right from my work, and this is throughout the system in all different areas. You can do this while you're building your project schedule. You can do this from issues, on tasks, on projects, etc. But there's a tool here called Comments, and you can see I have a couple comments on some of these different work items here already. It shows up with the little number there to indicate how many comments are sitting there. But you can click that, and it's going to open up my comment screen here. And so say a task was assigned to me, but I didn't quite understand what I needed to do. I can come in here. Automatically, whoever's involved with this task, meaning whoever assigned it to me and anybody else assigned to it, are going to show up here in the To column, so I don't have to try to figure out who gave this to me and so on and so forth. And I can say, hey, I don't quite understand what I need to do. Type that in there, post, and that's going to go into the comment stream here, and it's going to start this communication back and forth between me and the project manager or whoever assigned it to me or such. And it's a really great way to keep the communication centralized as well. When you're using emails can fly all over the place, and then you forget about them, and you miss them, or people don't get them, or they say they don't get them, and so on and so forth. And communication flies all over the place, and things end up a lot of times getting forgotten or lost. This allows you to keep a running list of all the communication going on, and it also notifies you when those communications happen. So the way it notifies you is up in the top right corner. You'll get a notification in here saying that a comment has been sent to you, and you can click right from there and reply to it. You'll also get an email as well. A lot of people are very tied into their email, so if you're using Outlook or some sort of tool like that, it'll pop into your Outlook, and you'll get a similar looking communication, and you can click right into your email to link you right in to comment back on it. There's another tool. I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my home page here. On my home page, there's another tool that's, I guess, a little bit more Facebook style to interact with your comments. You can see down here in the bottom right, we have a comment stream. And this is a web part that you can drop really anywhere. By default, we put this on the home pages and things of that nature, but you could set up kind of a social center if you wanted to and drop this in a few other types of web parts and such. But the idea here is I'm seeing all of the different recent communications that I have going on right here, all of the different streams of communication. And so I can keep track of them, and they're right in front of me. Maybe I haven't heard anything back from Steve in a while, and I'm wondering on what the status is on this particular task, or the opposite, I'm the person working on the task, just so I want to give a quick update and say, hey, I'm still working on this, I'm almost finished. I can reply right from within here and say, I'm almost finished, comment, and put that into the stream right from here. So it really helps bring that communication together, helps get people collaborating to really get the work done and communicate when the work is done as well. The other thing here in my work, when I'm done with a task, all I have to do is mark it off. I can just check it right here. The task gets set to complete, it disappears, it sends a notification to the project manager. So the system's actually communicating for me and helping me to communicate back to the project manager that I finished this task. So it's between those two, the comments and the my work, it really helps to kind of complete that communication stream and get more social there from a managing work and project side of things. The next tool that we have within SharePoint and EPM Live is alerts. So if I highlight an item right here, I can always set an alert on it. I'll go ahead and click Alert Me here. I can set an alert on this particular task. And I can choose if I want to get it by email. I can even get it by text messages if you have that set up within your system. And you can pick some choices here. I want to see when anything changes on this particular task, or if someone else changes something, right? Maybe only want to see when upcoming critical tasks change, etc. So it's kind of a cool way for you to be able to get notifications from the system when other people are doing things, right? So that you know when that happens and you can react accordingly. So it allows you to really get in there and take more advantage out of what's going on in the system. The next thing that we're going to look at is the ideation app. So EPM Live, real quick, just show the app store here. EPM Live has lots of different apps available for you. All of these apps allow you to be more social with your project management system. And lots of different apps available. One in particular that we're going to highlight and showcase today is the ideation app. So the ideation app really allows you to capture ideas from people and filter through those and turn that into value, business value. right? So it's the idea in a social manner of allowing people to kind of give their opinions and put that all into one bucket. And then there's tools to really filter through those, and there's also ways of incentivizing people to do that in the system to really get them involved, which is the key to social project management. So you can see here, I'm in the ideas community in this particular site. I've already installed the ideation app here. I still have familiar tools like the comment stream that we already talked about and such, but I can see things like most voted ideas by creator, so you can actually vote on these ideas and let everyone vote on them if you choose to do so, or you can do it as more of an approval process where everyone puts their ideas in and then someone screens that and approves and those types of things and moves it through the different phases. But as a general concept, the way it works here is you would go into ideas, and you could put this anywhere. You could put this ideas back into my workplace. So when people are, checking out their work and they're doing things like that, and oh, I have an idea, I want to submit it, they could do it right from my workplace. Lots of different ways to initiate this within EPM Live. But you can see there's some ideas here. These are all my ideas. I have different views here, so I can see the most voted ideas. I can see just the recent ideas, so I can go in there and see things that are popping up and vote on them. But if I want to submit an idea, it's all within the SharePoint interface. I hit New Item here, and I can put in the title of my idea, and I can kind of categorize it, put in a more detailed description, and you can even do followers within here. So if there's someone I want to bring, someone's attention specifically who I want to bring to this idea, I can do that. Maybe my manager or a product manager or someone of that nature you could throw in there, and that's going to make it so it shows up in their My View and they can get notified and such and things like that. So once you have all these ideas in here, then you can vote on the particular ideas if you choose to do so. So there's a little vote button here. So I've been reading the idea. I like it. I'm going to vote on it. Notice comments is tied into everywhere. I can also comment on this idea and say, hey, this looks like a cool idea. I'm glad you're submitting it. Keep on submitting, whatever it might be. Vote. And then once it gets a certain amount of votes, there's a workflow that kicks off that's going to turn this idea into what we call a concept. So the whole goal of this is to really take a large amount of ideas and filter down the good ones or the best ones and get those into really business value. So if I click on concepts here, concepts are ideas that have been converted because they received a certain amount of votes or they've been approved or however you want to do that. Now we have some concepts here. If I added a concept, it's going to have all the same information as the idea, except it's also going to have more information as well. So, this idea sounds really good. Let's do a little bit more work on it. Let's have this person fill it out a little bit more and really do a little bit more analysis around it and such. And that can be up to you of how much you want to do at this particular point. But the idea is you get a little bit more information, and then you can start to really prioritize these and take it one level further and say, okay, out of these concepts, which ones do we want to turn into actual projects that we're going to do something to get this done, or maybe a change. Maybe it's not big enough to require an actual project, but maybe it just turns into a change of some sort. But you can see there's another workflow here. Once I go through this and prioritize it, and there's views and dashboards and such to help you prioritize it and see where things are. Then you can turn this into a project, and that filters into your whole project management system. So this really becomes a front end, a really social front end on your project management system to help people get their ideas in and collaborate and such and get together and really generate more value for the business, right? So it's a great app to be able to do that. There's also a document library here, so you can upload supporting documents to these concepts. And there's a wiki library as well. If you're not familiar with wikis, they're really kind of web pages that people can create very easily within SharePoint. And it allows you to insert pictures and videos and things like that. So instead of just kind of a regular document, it's a little bit more interactive and rich. So the ideation is definitely a great app. Another app that I wanted to show real quick is the Shoutouts app. And the Shoutouts app is a very simple app, but even within our organization, within EPM Live, we utilize this particular app. And it really helps people to communicate, and in specific, to communicate when people do things well. So the idea about shout-outs is to get people involved and get people, into the project management system. But hey, you did this task and you did a really great job maybe on the project manager. I want to give you a shout-out. And what happens is you come in here, you say new shout-out, and you fill out a little bit of information, a brief description of what you did. Who is this shout out for? You can copy their manager on it if you want them to see that and bring that to their attention. So it's just a great way of praising people within the system and getting them involved and getting them in and using the system and making them feel good about the system, right? And if they feel good, they're going to use it, and we're going to have a more social project management, more successful social work management system. So it's great. You send it out, and it's, the way we set it up within our organization is it actually emails everyone. So everyone that works for EPM Live, when someone gets a shout out, they all see that. So it's really a great way to bring attention to that person for the good things that they're doing. And then you can see here all the shout outs you get over time and so on and so forth. There's different views, so you can see all shout outs, my shout outs, so on and so forth. And then on top of that, you can start to use comments on it. I could come in here and I could comment on a shout out to say, hey, great job, if I'm your manager. So it's just really a great way of communicating positive things within the system. Another tool that I'd like to show is user customizable dashboards. So, the whole key behind being social here in the project management system, excuse me, is that you're kind of empowering people to see the things that they need to see, to do the work that they need to do, get them in there, get them collaborating. So a great way of seeing the things that you need to see are these user customizable dashboards. So as an example, I'm a project manager, and I need to see some information about projects that are going on, and I want to see that in a little bit more graphical manner. I can come into my projects area, and I can switch to my project dashboard, and once this loads here, I can kind of fine-tune it to what I want to see. And the way it allows you to do that is this web part up at the top here. This is really a filter web part of sorts. So down here in my dashboard, I can see things like number of projects by state, number of projects by type, by manager, budget versus actual costs, et cetera, right? So I have lots of different charts available to me here. But I'm looking at certain project data, and maybe I just want to focus in on one project. I want to customize this dashboard to my own needs. So what I can do is I can come here and say, you know what, I only want to see active projects. And once I choose that, it's going to show me all of the active projects here, and maybe I'm only interested in the Xbox DVD project. So I can select that, hit filter, and it's going to update this dashboard here just to show me, that the information for that one particular project that I'm interested in. So I'm really customizing this to my own needs, getting myself in the system, getting the information I need out of the system to do that. So it's really a great tool to help with that. The next tool that I'm going to go ahead and show is the Yammer integration. So there's a few different levels of Yammer integration, and if you're not familiar with Yammer, I'll talk a little bit about that. Yammer is a tool that Microsoft recently acquired, and it basically is a enterprise social tool. So it's a little bit different than a Facebook or a Twitter in the sense that Yammer is meant specifically for businesses, for enterprises. So it's not open to the world. It's locked down, and only people that are invited into your community, into your Yammer network, are people that will be able to see what's going on. So as an example, in EPM Live, we set up our own Yammer network, and you can actually set up one for free. If you choose to upgrade your membership, you can upgrade it to they have different levels of licensing where you can get extra features and things like that. But the basic free Yammer is actually pretty cool. So what we did is we set up an EPM Live stream, and we got all of our EPM Live employees here, and people started posting things. So you can kind of post, and you can upload documents and attach them, and you can create different communities. So we might have there might be the app community, and there might be the sales community, and you can put all these different communities in here where people can interact and post things on a board and put links, right? It's just a great way of communicating amongst your team. But the cool thing is you can tie all of this in right into SharePoint in EPM Live very easily. You basically just add a web part here, you get a little feed out of Yammer, and we could give you more instructions on how to do this if you're interested in it. But literally within a couple of minutes, I hook this up so that we can see our Yammer feed right within EPM Live, and I can even communicate back and post other things right here from EPM Live. So I can say, hey, what's going on, and update, and so on and so forth. So it's really a great way to bring in some more social features right within EPM Live or SharePoint. So with that said, there's lots of other tools within SharePoint. I mean, just as an example, I can come, let me jump back here real quick. SharePoint has things that you may already be aware of, like My Sites. So I can go into my Site here, and you have your own little home page where you can join different groups, and you can show your interests and things like that. And it really helps to, for people to kind of know who you are and understand your personality, which is really important when working with other people and collaborating, especially when teams, are in different locations and such, and you don't really know the person. When you feel like you know a person better, you're not just sending an email to a number on the other side. You're really interacting with a real person, and it just makes it a little bit more personal, a little bit more social. So there's lots of great tools within EPM Live. EPM Live is also available within SharePoint 2013, which has even more social tools. This particular site that I was in here is in SharePoint 2013. So you can take advantage of all the social tools available, everything from notes to comments to tags and so on and so forth that are available within SharePoint 2013. You can take advantage of all those as well. So there's lots of great ways to do project management and be professional about it, but get people collaborating and get people communicating to help get that work done much more efficiently, as well as get people putting data into the system so you can get out better reports and get better data out of your tool. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Heather. I thank you guys all for watching today, and she has a little bit more information for you.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. I just want to thank you guys again for joining us for today's presentation. If you would like to learn more about EPM Live, we welcome you to visit epmlive.com to access trials, webinars, white papers, videos, etc. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning, if you have any questions specifically about this webinar and you need to contact me directly, feel free to do so. My email is on the screen. And for those of you who need PDU information, you'll see the number also listed on the screen as well. So with that, we'll say goodbye, and we look forward to next time. Have a great day.